Welcome to my class. This is a part of the personality development. I thank Mr. Talwar, the Director of Technical Education, to give me this opportunity to be in front of you. I'm here for the first time to give a little bit introduction to the QTIME learning framework. It's a different kind of learning. It has nothing to do with your ways of learning. It is something totally new. So it helps you quite a lot to understand the subject you are learning, and it helps you to really develop a deeper understanding and also able to excel in the exams and tests and all that. So let us see what it is. So any kind of learning, okay, leads to education. Okay, let's have a perspective on education. See, education is a debt. Okay, it's a debt due from present to future generations. See, we are current, you are future. So it's a debt that is due from us. So that's why we become teachers. We become teachers and we pass that whatever we know to you. And when we are doing this, passing information to you, we look at every child, and the child miseducated is a child lost, right? So we want to educate every child correctly. So miseducated child is lost. And also we say, why should society feel responsible only for education of children? Children. So we really want to educate everyone. We want to educate adults too. So education does not depend on the age. We want to educate everyone, and education makes people very easy to lead. But we can't drive them to do whatever we want them to do, but it is easy for us to lead them and easy to govern them. The government exists for everybody. So once we educate the citizens of this country through this media, it becomes easy to govern, but we can't enslave them because they are educated. So the question comes, why education? See, education is increasing your level in the society. Higher the education you receive, you are considered a high educated person. Highly educated person are listened. They are listened to. People, when they talk, people listen to them. But the question is, how to preserve and enhance the self-respect of those people who are not that educated? How do we bring them up? So we have to provide them some means. See, the education is masses, right? Everybody learns differently. So we need to make sure, okay, that when we educate, we don't leave anybody behind. And sometimes you have bad ideas, but the sure weapon against bad ideas is better ideas, and the source of better ideas is wisdom. But the surest path to wisdom is liberal education. So that is why we need education. And Aristotle was once asked, what is the difference between an educated man, okay, and how superior he is compared to the uneducated? He simply said, it is as much as the living to the dead. So the education has its foundation or understanding, okay, that great end of education is to discipline rather than to furnish the mind. See, I can give a lot of facts. India is this big. India has contained so many different states. Each states have districts. Those are all facts. So I can furnish your mind with all that. But what we need to do is to discipline your mind, and we have to train it to use its own powers rather than to fill with the accumulation of others. Whatever I want to tell you is not necessary. So the aim of education is the knowledge not of the facts but the values. So that is very important to have. So we don't want to have education, okay, which is just the facts. It is important to know that, but the values are important. And the chief object of education is not to learn things but to unlearn things. See, you at home, your parents will tell you something, Other places teachers will tell you something. We need to make sure if they are good, you keep it, but they have learned some 20, 30, 40 years back. So we don't need to get that 40 years back. If there is a wisdom, you keep it. If it is not, unlearn that. And then we must open doors for opportunity. But we must equip also the people to walk through those doors. How do you let them walk through those doors? Some are big, some are huge. So we basically have a concept of the learning, and we have to understand what is learning. So learning is acquiring new or modifying and reinforcing the existing knowledge, whatever it is. You have certain knowledge. Once you get into middle school, you have certain knowledge. Once you get into college, you have more knowledge. But the learning at every stage is acquiring something new, modifying and reinforcing that existing knowledge. But that doesn't remain the same. You have to also have the method to change the behaviors or reinforce the behaviors if it is good, and acquire new behaviors if it is required. Skills, values, and your preferences, all of them together will become learning, and may involve getting different kinds of information from all over and put it together, and that's also learning. And this learning is possessed only by humans, and animals and other machines it's not possible. So what do we really go by learning? Let us look at learning in a different perspective. So Mark Twain said, never learn to do anything. If you don't learn, you will always find someone else to do it for you. Okay, but those who followed Mark Twain, they became politicians. So you understand, they can get work done by others. And Winston Churchill said, personally I am ready to learn, but although I do not like being taught. So all those who followed Winston Churchill would have fired the teachers. So he is a different kind of person altogether. And Georges Clemenceau is a French politician. He said, all that I know learned after I was 30. So he was a politician later years. He was engineer before. So how do the people go about learning? The first example is rote learning. Rote learning is nothing but maki ka maki. I read something, memorize everything in the mind, and say, hey, when did India get independence? 1947. Okay, why? You have remembered that. But were you there at that point in time? 1947, you were not there. So that is rote learning. It is in the book somewhere, you by heart, you know that year. And what is instructional learning? It is what teachers teach you. They instruct you. Okay, if you want to talk about, say the previous lecture was about hydraulics. Okay, they instructed the entire concept of hydraulics through different presentations of that. In a classroom they do it differently, but this instructional learning. But once you understand that learning technique, so you go to a higher learning technique, which is research based learning. What you do? You go around researching yourself what needs to be done. You refer to books, you refer to articles, you look at different videos and what people say, you go and talk to people. So those are all research based learning. And what is enlightened learning? It is when you really go about doing something. This is experience teaches you. So while we are doing a lot of work around, you discover something new. Oh, if I do this way, this is better. But sometimes you really find something totally astonishingly, oh, this is great, this is the only way I can do it, it going to liberate everybody. That is what you call enlightened learning. I could say Buddha example. Okay, maybe he sat under the tree, Gaya tree and all that in Gaya, but in the end he knew what life is all about, and he came up with his own Buddhism, philosophy. That's enlightened learning. It happens to some very highly intellectual people, but takes its time too. But then you come to this. I am proposing something called QTIME learning. You may wonder, what is QTIME learning? So QTIME learning has got some basis. It says anyone who stops learning becomes old, whether at 20 or 80. So our QTIME learning basis is a continuous learning. So anyone who keeps learning will stay young forever. That is the premise of QTIME learning. And the greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. Okay? And the object of education is to prepare the young to educate themselves throughout life. So QTIME learning takes every other learning into account and says the object of education is to prepare the young to educate themselves throughout life. So you never stop learning. And the real object of education is to have the man in a condition of continuously asking questions. People are afraid to ask questions. Oh, if I ask questions, I may consider it, stupid, I mean not knowing. Till you know, you ask questions. That is very important. So the QTIME learning premise says ask questions. So don't be afraid. That is on the premise of QTIME learning. And also QTIME learning is going away from all old type of learning. You know, the old type of learning is enter and exit. You enter as a kindergarten, whatever it is, you middle school, high school, you go to college or technical college or some other college. So you go through all that, and then you come out with a diploma or some other degrees in your hand, and you say, I'm done with my education, I'm done with my learning. QTIME learning says no, that is not the case. Okay? It is totally a different kind of learning. And also this learning method you are following is 20th century, it is for the masses. But we are in 21st century. What does it mean? We mean the 21st century we have tools like this. I can sit here in a room, in a studio in Bangalore, and tell you all across Karnataka, wherever you are sitting, you can listen to what I tell you, and you can understand whatever I tell you, and you will be able to ask questions about that, get answers. So it was not possible before in 20th century. We are in 21st century. The model of sitting in a room and teacher coming in, bell rings and you huddle into the room and teacher starts writing on the board like this or whatever. Those days are of olden era. Now we can get into new era. So QTIME learning based everything on that. And learning aspects are continuous and cyclical. So QTIME learning bases everything on that. Remember that it is continuous and cyclical. It is, you cannot just say, I'm done with it. No, whenever you are done with it, a new cycle starts. And also I tell you, there is no starting point. If you are a technician in electrical field, you can be in mechanical too. Don't be afraid. Okay, I'm electrical, I can't do anything about that. People have done wonderful things. For me, I was in IT for almost 25 years, and I came into training people, educating, giving lectures, for the past 5 years. So it is possible. And whenever you are thinking of QTIME learning, think bound and unbound. What is bound? See, bound, whatever bounded, you are bounded by certain information that you have, certain knowledge you have, certain vision you have, certain goodness you have, certain reasoning powers you have. Okay, you can reason out whether something is good or bad. So you are going to be living and acting within that bounded knowledge. So if you know, that you are able to do this task, you base it on the knowledge you have acquired from your studies. So you have gone to labs, you know how to do that, you know exactly if you have a how to connect black to blue wires and everything, how to make the circuit work. That's the knowledge. You live and act in that. So you have vision. Oh, I should become a very good electrician or a mechanic, engineering, whatever field you choose. So you have a vision. So you live and act within that. And your reasoning powers that you have, okay, but something is right, something is wrong, if I do it this way, it may work, it may not work. All those reasoning questions depend on the knowledge you have. So those knowledge comes handy. But what is beyond all that? See, beyond reasoning powers, there is a blind faith. People just follow without thinking. This need to be done. Oh, I have been told I need to do this. No, you question that. The QTIME learning tells you to question that. And the knowledge, what is beyond knowledge? Ignorance. That is, so try to work your knowledge to see that ignorance can be removed. Got me? So what is beyond goodness? Oh, evil is unbound. But will you be able to change everything? No. But you will be able to expand your bounded goodness to include, so that you can make a difference. And you have a vision, a bounded vision. This is what it is. But what is beyond that? Life. Go and enjoy it. You don't have to be slogging through entire your career working 24 hours. No. But you have a life after that. It's unbound. You have to enjoy that. So you have to bound within the bounded knowledge or reasoning powers or vision or whatever goodness you have to live and act within that. Beyond that, you have all this. So what is the QTIME learning? Another thinking is all this bounded knowledge keeps on expanding, keeps on shrinking. Today I may learn something about a new concept of doing assembling some instruments together, okay, and they make a model out of it. Tomorrow, whatever the tools I use to make it today, okay, that can change, and you have a new way of doing it. So the old knowledge is gone. So this thinking, think always in terms of expanding and shrinking. Some knowledge expands, some knowledge shrinks. Don't be afraid. That is the QTIME basis. And the most important thing about QTIME learning is learn in different dimensions. Right? Learn in different dimensions. See, all the things I have said so far is to take you to this level of learning. You may not know that what these dimensions are. Don't worry, I will take you through the entire process of understanding what these dimensions are. I will make it simple for you. I will make it simple because it is a new way of learning, and it's learning in Q dimension. This new way of learning is always like a bit scary. Oh, why do I have to go through this? I just simply read the book, memorize everything and do it. Or I will go through a teacher and ask something. Why should I go through this? There's a reason for it. Because QTIME learning incorporates 4 important things. Those learning dimensions I talk about are trust dimension, very important. Trust, in Kannada it says nambike, vishwasa. That dimension is important. Within that there are a lot to learn. So if you are not able to understand how this learning happens in trust dimension, all other learnings may become very unstable. And there is innovation dimension. The learning happens there too. So innovation dimension is, we talk about innovation very loosely. Oh yeah, innovation happens every day. Oh well, is it happening because of you? Think about that. So no, only I know this much. No, don't stop there. You also can be capable of innovating a lot of things. And just because you are not, I don't have access to some computer, laptop, don't mean that you cannot stop innovation. There are people innovating. There are teachers. They have used only 2 pieces, matchsticks and cycle tubes. In the matchstick and cycle tube, they have created molecules of any carbon dioxide molecules, hydrogen molecules, oxygen molecules. They have created all that, and then in the lab and shown that just two things, two items, matchsticks and cycle tube. And there is a lot of talks about that. So that is innovation. You don't need to really have to have a technology of different kind to really do this. And there is that learning has to happen there, and there is a method dimension. So the method dimension is what? How do you go about doing things, right? So you have to understand what is the best way to do things. So what are the you can get to from point A to point B on a cycle, or on a motorbike, on a car, or auto rickshaw, public transport. But those different methods that you use to reach there depend on the need, depend on what you can afford. So the method dimension is also important, and what you learn there is also important. Then the last dimension I am talking about is effort dimension, right? Everybody puts effort to an extent, but is it necessary to put lot of effort when you don't have to? So how do you put least amount of effort and get most things possible, achieve most things possible? That is effort dimension. But these trust, innovation, method and effort, they are the learning dimensions of QTIME. So if you look at QTIME, TIME, T is for trust, I for innovation, M for methods, and E for efforts. Simple, right? And Q is the quadrants. So each time quadrants are going to be expanded in further ahead of time. So those quadrants are going to be explained through a simple game called Scrabble game. I don't know how many of you know this game, but some people still know. For those who don't know about this Scrabble game, let me give introduction about that. This Scrabble game is played by 4 players. So each player will get a letter from the alphabet, English alphabet, okay, and they have a board in front of them, and it has got squares, and they have to put whatever the tiles they get with the letters on that, they have to place on the board. They can whichever way. What do they make? What do they make or create on the board? Words, okay, and each word will get a point. Okay, when you make a longer word, you get more points. If you get a lesser short words, you get less points. And also if you use some letters like Y and Z, which is very hard to use in the words, you get more points. So idea is to create words out of the tiles you have. So look at this Scrabble game. Okay, there you got, if you look at north, south and east and west, okay, north is, assume that you have one set of tiles. You don't know what that person has got. And the east has got one set of tiles, south another set of tiles, and west another set of tiles. So everybody start making words of the tiles here. So what is the connection with the QTIME learning? The QTIME learning connection is all these 4 are 4 dimensions. So the north is the trust dimension, east is your innovation dimension, south is your method dimension, and the west is your effort dimension, and each of them they have got something there. So each of them will play the boards, and what you are looking at the board is what you can achieve. How much of that you can achieve is based on what you have. So more tougher the education, higher the education you get, higher achievements you can have. So what you see on the board is your achievements. So these are the, look at the tiles here. Look at the Z has got 10. Why is it 10? It is hard to really make a lot of words out of that. But if you are able to do it, you get higher points, you achieve higher levels. Like W, X, Y, Z, X is another one. But look at A, B, C, D. Look at A, it's only 1 point. Why so? So A or anything 1 point will tell you that you are at the basic level of education. Higher you go, higher you are able to achieve, harder it becomes to achieve. But you should be able to do that. So that is this achievement is what is necessary, okay, in as a part of the education. So look at that. So people have created a lot of words here, and all tiles are come from all 4 dimensions: north, south, east and west. Trust, innovation, methods and efforts, all of them come together. When they come together, what you achieve you can see on the board. This is a little introduction to your QTIME learning on dimensions. So I want you to understand how you can learn in these dimensions. I told you about 4 dimensions, right? So how do you learn within each dimensions? I'll make it simple for you. Very simple. You take QTIME steps. What are they? There are only 4 steps. You have to acquire something to start learning in different dimension. Acquire. That's the first step. And then begin. Begin to know what you have acquired. And then connect. Connect with what you have acquired and connect with those people who know something more about what you have acquired. Right? And then discover. Discover what? Discover the achievements, discover what you can achieve in life. Let's go back and take the Scrabble game. What do you acquire there? Letters, right? And what do you begin to do? You begin to place those tiles on the board to make words, right? So how do you make those words? You connect. What do you connect? You connect letters. Whatever you get those letters randomly. I tell you, every day is a new day. Every day is random. You don't think, oh, yesterday is going to be exactly like today, and today is going to be exactly like tomorrow. Every day is different. So every tile that you get is different. Every time you play the game, it is different. So when those tiles are connected, okay, you discover new words. Every day, next time when you play the game, you have a different word discovered. So to learn in QTIME or learn in the quadrants of this time, which is trust, innovation, methods and efforts, you need only 4 steps, like the Scrabble game. 4 steps: acquire, begin, connect and discover. So whenever you are thinking about QTIME learning, think Scrabble game, okay, and think the steps that you have to go through, and then start learning. Start learning in every dimension of QTIME. Okay, let's go to that little thing. So this is the QTIME steps: acquire, begin, connect, discover. This goes on a cyclical process. It never ends. Don't ever think at the end of oh, acquired, I have begun to do this and I have done this, I have discovered that, a new game starts. Okay? When the new game starts, it's totally a new thing for you. It's like a new day. So your learning never stops. So just because you got a diploma today, tomorrow you can do something else. But QTIME learning is happening on a continuous basis, on a cyclical basis in 4 dimensions. What are there? They are to your right: trust, innovation, methods and efforts. So you are continuously learning in those dimensions by going through these steps. Are you with me on that? So this is a very important concept. The QTIME steps, you can remember them as A, B, C, D. A for acquire, B for begin, C for connect and D for discover. And time is never, nobody can forget time, right? So time is always there with you. So this time is called trust, innovation, methods and efforts. So as long as you take these QTIME steps in these dimensions, you have started QTIME learning, and the essence of the QTIME learning is to take your understanding to a totally different level. So once you understand the subject, you can answer any kind of questions asked about the subject, because you have gone through that process without missing anything. And passing exams and scoring high things, it becomes a routine stuff. Like you get up in the morning out of your bed and start walking around. It becomes as simple as that. You don't have to have fear of exams anymore. So this is important, but you have to be committed to do this. So let us see what that thing really drives everything. So the driving dimensions of QTIME learning is the first, trust dimension. If you have a lot of trust, you know, you are confident of yourself, you know what can be achieved. But how do you get that trust? How do you learn to get that trust? You have to go through the steps here. First step is to have the self-trust. Self-trust is very important. You have to be confident of yourself. Doesn't matter whatever you know. You have to develop that Atma Vishwasa antar Kannadadalli. That thing has to develop from within you. So know yourself. So once you have the self-trust, the next level is the group trust. What is group trust? The friends you mingle with, the workers you work with, the passengers, other passengers you travel with certain distance. You trust somebody, like you get into a train, right? You leave your things stuff. Hey, please look after that. I'm going to just have a coffee and come back. He's total stranger. So how do you trust that person? Because you have there talking to the person for some time. You develop that mutual understanding. Oh, he's a good person. He doesn't teach you, cheat you with anything else, and you do all that, right? So that is important. So once you have the self-trust of what you are capable, oh, okay, even if this person wants to take my stuff away, I can stop him. That's the self-trust you have. So if you have that, the group trust goes on. So you go to that level. So organization trust is something one step above that. So you have to believe that if I have joined this Polytechnic college or this college in here, I can learn these things. You have to trust the organization that you are in. So if you don't have that trust, you will not be able to really understand what that organization can offer you. What that college can offer you will not know. You have to go after getting it. So once you have that, you know that the next level is societal trust. The society around you, the community around you, they will all come to your help. When you are falling behind, they come to your help because you have developed the trust. It starts from you, from the group you go around with, and the organization you study, and the society you belong to. When that happens, you establish a trusted professionalism. But how do you go about doing this? You go through my ABCD steps, QTIME steps, right? Acquire, begin, connect, and discover. You have to go through that. So once you have or established a trusted professionalism, whatever work you do will become magnified 100 times for people to see that, and they start respecting the kind of work you do. They trust you as an electrician. They trust you as a person, automobile expert, because you tell them what you can do and you deliver what you have told them. Nothing less, nothing more. They believe you, they trust you. So this is a learning in trust dimension. The learning happens to learn in 4 areas, 4 quadrants again. The 4 of them are self-trust, group trust, organization trust, and societal trust. So when these learning happens in these 4 quadrants, you have established a trusted professionalism. What is the next dimension? Innovation. And what is there? Why is it there? Why is the dimension is there? that dimension is there for you to achieve innovation proficiency. But what are the steps there? What are the quadrants that go through that? First, you have to unlearn. Lot of things are is like a like a garbage in the thing and is dumped on you. You have to really know whether the things that you have acquired from your elders, from parents, from whosoever it is it really applies to the current time, the time you live in right now. Does it apply now? Hey, look at this. Earlier days I used to live by a telephone which is hung on the wall with a 2 meter 2 feet 3 feet like wire, and I had to go around like talking to everybody over the phone. I mean, nowadays who wants it? Everybody has a mobile phone, right? So I don't need to worry about earlier days everything dialing. You should really use all your fingers to dial those numbers, and if you miss it, you don't know what numbers are, but you can see what numbers you have dialed right now. You can correct it. So you know that automatically some new learning sometimes automatically replaces the old learning, but sometimes it doesn't, because if some learning is very ingrained and be with you like a habit, it is very difficult to unlearn. And it's a bad habit, people say. Well, you have to unlearn that, okay? But then you have to relearn. What is relearning? The future is in front of you. You hear news. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to get this a new a process with which I can do these things much faster. You know about it today. It doesn't happen yet, but people are going to give it to you. So you have to prepare for that. So you have to relearn what the future is going to bring tomorrow. You can't just live with today's learning. And once you unlearn and relearn, you have to live in the present and rebrand yourself. Rebranding is you are showing the people what you are capable of doing. But unless you unlearn and relearn, you will not be in the stage to show people what you are capable of doing, right? So it's rebranding. And when you rebrand yourself, you have to resource. You cannot just simply today I'm going to work with the old flip top phones, right? Like you have got a smartphones nowadays. While you are talking to person, hey, let us meet at this restaurant, let's have our dinner, and then they say, okay, no, we'll go there. So you have a smartphone, you can look at all the things and what restaurant is good, bad. It's just like that. So you can source yourself with the different phones and completely do something differently. So you achieve the innovation proficiency in the matter of minutes, in a matter of days sometimes. So you have to understand the innovation proficiency comes with a mindset of unlearning, relearning, rebranding and resourcing. That is important. So this is again go through the process of QTIME steps: acquire, begin, connect and discover. That's how you achieve the innovation proficiency. So it's like you think this it's like accordion, learning accordion is strings and expands and what. So the past shrinks as it becomes distant, okay? What happens 40 years back is distant. So whatever you have learned 40 years back, unlearning becomes a necessity. Understand that. And future is near, okay? It is your bounded thing is like slowly getting filled up by what the future can offer you, right? So it's expanding. The future is nearing, it's expanding your knowledge. So past is shrinking, unlearning has to happen. The future is nearing, it's expanding. The present then becomes the one to live. And how do you live the present? You rebrand and resource. And how do you do that? It's a learning on everyday basis. What does it mean? It's a continuous learning, and it's a cyclical learning as the day changes. So once you have understand what you can learn and what needs to be learned in those two dimensions I talked about, trust, innovation, you have to go into other two dimensions. So those whatever you do in these two dimensions are depending on what you have learned in the trust dimension and innovation. See, I cannot expect you to learn everything, but you should learn to your capacity. So once you learn, everybody is different. So once you learn that, once you to your utmost, the highest possible thing you can achieve, once you reach that, you will know what those driven dimensions are, what should be learned there, and how do you go about learning. And the first dimension that you can work with is method dimension, and the method dimension is important to work because you have to attain the maturity. How do you attain maturity? By doing it over and over again. And what needs to be learned there? Whatever you have acquired, you should be able to apply it. Otherwise, that whatever you acquired becomes forgotten, rusted, not seen. Takes more time to really polish it and work through the whole thing. But once you apply whatever you acquired, you have to begin to benchmark what you have acquired. You have to compare against other people. Oh, okay, whatever acquired, is it as good as the person who has acquired? If not, you have some other methods. Collaborate in the sense of you have to work not as a competition. Hey, I have this, you have this, can we put it together and create something new? Okay, that is important. So collaboration is as opposed to competition. I don't want to compete with you. Hey, come on, let's work together, let's build something new, and then deliver. How do you deliver what you have put together? Delivery is important because you have to make sure whatever you have delivered is trusted by the other person, right? So once you do that, the maturity happens. That's what I call methods maturity. You have to go through the same QTIME steps to achieve that. So once you achieve the methods maturity, you can go to the next level of what the effort dimension you can learn. So effort dimension consists again of 4 quadrants or 4 efforts: self effort, teacher's effort, team effort, and what I call time effort. Time is not QTIME, it's a time, real time. Let me explain this. See, there is a Subhashita is called it in Sanskrit. Acharyat padamadatte. Acharya means teacher. Acharyat padamadatte. Padam shishya somedasa. See, padam means quarter, 1 quarter. Okay, so 1 quarter you can learn from teacher. Other quarter somedasa andre shishya student with his own effort will learn. Okay, Acharyat padamadatte. Padam shishya somedasa. Padam sabbrahmacharyabhya is again a Sanskrit thing which says sabbrahmacharyabhya means people that you study with, like your team. If you work together, you will learn the other quarter, and the rest padam acharyat padamadatte. Padam shishya somedasa. Okay, padam sabbrahmacharyabhya. Shesham andre left over 1/4 kalakramena over a time. So that is the essence of Subhashita, is kind of creating efforts efficiency here. Self effort is important. Okay, so you have to understand, if you don't put effort, then nothing can be achieved, because you want to miss 1/4 of learning, right? So if you don't put the effort, if you think I have learned completely, no, you have only 3/4. So what you learn from teacher is only 1/4. So if you put your effort, other 1/4 is going to come through. So half of what you know. And then if you work with your team, work with your friends, and to study more about the subject, other 1/4 will come. So only 3/4. But when does the complete effort is recognized? Over a period of time. see, which is time is also an important effort. A time wasted is time lost. Other way too is time not wasted is time invested. So if you are able to do certain things faster, okay, you can use the same time for some other purpose. Say for example, if I have to come here to this studio from my place, okay, and it takes 45 minutes, 1 hour by bus, but it takes me 10 minutes or 20 minutes by car. And if I am going to save 40 minutes, I have to really know why I want to save 40 minutes, because at that 40 minutes I can invest in something else, to do some other. I don't want to really have a jolly ride in the car and come here early, do something, nothing. No, if I come here by saving 40 minutes by coming by bus, then what happens is I can use the 40 minutes for some other purpose. That is important. So time saved is time invested. So to create the efforts efficiency, it is important that you have to go through all this: self effort, teacher's effort, team effort, and time effort. Then you create efforts efficiency. So what is it about? Now you are at the stage, you know all the steps, you know all the dimensions, and 4-dimensional learning is nothing but taking QTIME steps in QTIME dimensions, right? That's all is important. Know that you have to just think about QTIME steps like A, B, C, D steps in QTIME dimensions. You have now are capable of learning in 4 dimensions. So why do we need that? Why do we need this QTIME learning? Because we are in 21st century. In 21st century learning, will not change the education landscape. Education landscape is huge. Okay, education landscape is huge. Education landscape is like involves a lot more things that in my time when I learned something, I had some physics, chemistry, and mathematics and all that. Okay, nowadays it is much more than that. Each physics is divided into certain other physics. Chemistry is now organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, separate fields by themselves. So 21st century is expanding with lot more different types of knowledge. So educational landscape is not going to change, but we have to get this 21st century learning will not change. I think we are not going to go. This slide is having some problems here. Let me see what I can do with it. Okay. So the next slide, just a minute, I think I have a help here to coming out going forward. So it is okay, don't worry. Good, I'm learning. Yeah. Okay, see now I've got this slide coming up now. So you have let me go through all these slides very quickly and get to that point where I was. Okay, so 21st century learning. So we are back at place where we are telling, okay, 21st century learning will not change the education landscape, right? But it become parts of a landscape. It become integrated. You will not know. So 21st century learning is part of the landscape, and learning will not be exactly same as we know it today. Today think I know everything. No, don't stick to that dogma of this is what I know today is sufficient for 21st century. It is more than that. So why? Very simply, I'll take you the difference between education and business. Education is what you are working here inside the institution to learn some subjects and everything. This is care oriented. Teachers are the caring. They want you to learn. Those individuals, we call them teachers. Okay, they are caring individuals. But whereas in business, those individuals service oriented, they want to service. Oh, as a customer, please come here, I can service. If there's a problem with your thing, I can service for you. They also, this a bit of a caring is involved. But business is more towards service oriented, education is more towards care oriented. And in education, you can think of teachers and everybody as counselors, and whereas in business they are policy makers. And in institutions here, education, we talk about learning. Learning is the one which adds value to whatever we do. In business, it is a value added function. So today you do this, tomorrow you add some more layer of value to it to sell it at a different price. Here you add learning, continuous learning. It becomes a kind of a continuous process to really leverage yourself above everybody else. And in education you get guidance, and in business, policy drives everything, and education is continuous. But whereas in business it's systematized, okay, this is the only thing we can do as a business, not more than that. And education is ongoing. But in business, they have to take initiatives every time to start something new. So even though when you move, okay, we finished learning something, you think you have done everything about whatever you need to know to attain this degree, and move to a different workplace, you have to understand these differences. You have been in this environment and now you are moving into business environment. Once you understand where these things falls, it becomes easy for you to really get acclimatized to the work environment, get adjusted to that. And what else is different? Education versus skill. See, education is more of acquiring knowledge, but a skill, you have to maintain it. See, once you learn to do something, you have to maintain it by doing it over and over again. Education is more towards attaining soft skills. Soft skills, I mean, how do you learn to communicate with others? How do you greet in a customer in a environment? Hotel environment is different from automobile environment. So the soft skills you learn, but skills, hard skills, real physical work. And education is creative, okay, and also it is, like we always hire very talented people down there. Education is work towards hiring people, being very creative, creating creative people, and creating soft skills and all that. So the skills set of it is, over a period of time, skills transform into tools and vice versa, and it's a continuous process. So you have to understand the difference between education and skill too. So what do we do next? We want to transform the education through QTIME learning. So how do we transform that? But what is transformation? A Dalai Lama said, if every 8-year-old in the world is taught meditation, we will eliminate violence from the world with one generation. This is transformation. What he is doing? He is transforming entire generation from being violent to become peaceful. So QTIME learning is transformation like that. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen not few years later, but over a period of generation it's going to happen. So why does it happen? Because people follow trust, good or bad. So we make the people follow good trust, then we have done half the job. People venture innovation, they want to really do something, but why? Whether it is small or big, they want to do it. That innovation mindset we have to create, and people devise methods to conquer anything that comes across in front of them as an obstacle. However simple method they devise, or however complex method devise, they are devised methods that is there in their nature. So we need to promote that creation of those methods depending on the time, at the time they are in. And we should also remember, people reward efforts. Whether you have a little effort put into that place to achieve great results, or a lot of efforts were put in to achieve something, is still to be rewarded. So once you recognize the facts that people follow trust, people venture innovation, people devise methods consistently, continuously, and people reward efforts, we achieve a transformation. That's why the QTIME learning is here. So the trusted professionalism, innovation proficiency, they drive the efforts efficiency and also the methods maturity. How efficient efforts become, how mature the methods become, dependent on how trusted a professional you are and how innovative you are. So once you learn what those driving dimensions are, you will be able to achieve methods maturity or efficiency much faster. So I have been talking about QTIME to many around India. I have gone to the College of Engineering in Pune, Mahajana Postgrad Center in Mysore, Pratham Mysore. These are the list of things that people have visited, talked to them and told about QTIME. And QTIME learning is becoming slowly spread around over a period of time. I think it's going to attain its place in learning methods at some point in time. And I have been around, going around, discovering things around the world. You should do this too. This is now, I'm not going to go through any of those things. This is my learning landscape. I have learned from all different corners of the world. Sometimes talking to professionals, sometimes talking to gurus, teachers. Everybody is important when you go after learning, and you will go through that the learning landscape. I expand on that next talk. This is the introduction talk, so I'm not going to take you all through all these things. And I thank you quickly for this time. I think I went through more than 1 hour, probably like I think I'm given to 12 o'clock. It's 12:10 now, and thank you all for listening to me. I know that this is something new, but keep it in mind, taking the QTIME steps in QTIME dimensions, you have a QTIME learning, which is a 4-dimensional learning. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Have a good day.